when you have your site or you make reference within your particular page and you reference and you link to somebody else, again, an area of unsettled law is what responsibility do you then have if that other site has determined to be in violation of someone's rights. And so it's important for you to consider whether or not there's limitations in terms of the linking that can be done and how far you can push it. There should be somebody in each organization, and again, I appreciate the realities of it. If you're a small shop, it's tough to be able to do this, but large or small, you should really have somebody who is taking a look at your own site. People, you need to be able to have the ability to do what's known as a takedown. You need to be able to have language incorporated on your website which says that, notwithstanding anything else to the contrary, you reserve the right to take down any information that you find to be inappropriate. Now, you don't necessarily have to define what you think is inappropriate, but I have to tell you, you need to make sure that that language, that disclaimer language, is incorporated into all of your sites, personal or otherwise. You need to be able to take that, because I'll tell you, when there is an issue, a judge or a jury is going to take a look at, well, what did you do when you found out that there was trouble? Did you just ignore it and look the other way and say, this person's just being a jerk? Or did you turn around and you say, even if I'm not sure and I have to conduct an investigation, I'm going to take it down immediately. And so I encourage you, each of you, that you incorporate language which allows you to immediately take down, and that's the operative phrase, take down anything that you have seen that has been put on by one of your own, or if somebody's been able to have access and put something on your site, make a posting of some sort. Now, you say, well, what kinds of things are we talking about? Well, let's use our common sense. I mean, obviously we're talking about anything that is criminal related, right? You don't want anything on there that says, I'm going to kill the President of the United States. You don't want anything on there which is objectively offensive. Nude pictures, descriptive foul language, these types of things that somehow can find their way onto your sites because people make postings. And in order to make sure that you insulate yourselves from liability, you have to make sure that somebody's looking at this thing. There should be someone in every medium, sizable organization who has direct responsibility to check out the site routinely. No less than once a day. No less than once a day. What's the likelihood of something happening and you miss it if you do it on a week-to-week basis? Probably not great, except in the one circumstance where somebody does something offensive and it causes problem. Remember a few minutes ago, I told you that I could guarantee an employer 100% protection against a sexual harassment suit if they did two things, right? Have a policy and have training, right? Well, let me tell you about a real-life story that just happened a few years ago right here in New Jersey. This very large company, a company called, who's no longer in business, so I guess I can get away with this. It was a very large hardware distributor who is no longer in business. Now, I'll let you guys try to put two and two together in terms of who that is. Yeah, there you go. And what had happened is that this company had a policy and had training. Well, this lady comes into my office and says, my supervisor. Now, she was a very attractive woman, very attractive younger woman, dressed, I wouldn't say that she dressed provocatively, but I have to tell you, she was in great shape and she wanted everybody to know it. But that's okay. That's okay. So she had this supervisor who would make comments to her like, geez, that sweater looks great on you. Now, we all know what that means. Or he would say to her, and again, he was a supervisor, he would say, hey, listen, Julie, stand up and let me see what you look like today. Okay? Or as she'd be walking, he'd call her in and say, she'd say, what can I do for you? And he said, nothing, I just want to see you come in and go out. Okay? All right, yeah, the groans. Okay, so I'm thinking to myself, now look, the law is business. There are certain law firms and lawyers who are, their jobs are pro bono and they just do the greatest good. But for most things, lawyers are business people, right? So I'm assessing this case in terms of value. I'm thinking to myself, geez, I got this big company. I know they've got a policy, which they did. I know they have training, which they did. So I'm thinking to myself, geez, what am I going to do? So, I kind of took a shot, and I wrote a letter. I said, listen, I've got this lady here who says she's a victim of sexual harassment. And, I put the names down, and of course, I get a scathing letter back from the general counsel of the company. Your action is frivolous. How dare you? We're going to sue you. We're going to file an ethics complaint with the Bar Association. We're going to kill your children. We're going to do all these terrible things to you. Horrible, figuratively. And, sometimes lawyers do get a little out of control. And so I'm thinking to myself, oh my God. So, I said, well, okay. Maybe I don't have much of a case, but I said to him, well, look, here's what I need to do. Prove to me that this individual went through the training, and I'll go away. I just wanted to make sure. Well, this company had 4,700 employees. Huge company, huge. So I write them the letter back and I say, okay, I want the sign-in sheets of all the sexual harassment that has been trained over the last 5 years. And what they did was they said, oh, we have, and I had to do a subpoena because all of a sudden they didn't want to give it to me because you know what? You can probably see where this thing is going. Every manager of that entire company went through the training except this one guy. He was out sick. He was out sick. Okay? Did not have the training. All of a sudden, I say to myself, my children can now be educated. And as it turned out, that was what the glitch was, because they did not make sure, they did not police themselves. Which is why I say to you, it's important that you have somebody who is responsible, And I have to tell you, the other way I got around it is that they had no one in this big organization. They had no one who checked. They had no one who made sure that the person did it. So their attitude was, everybody did it. And human resources said, okay, fine, we had the training and all the rest of the stuff. And this guy just didn't do it. And so it took what was an absolute 100% loser into a case where this woman got some substantial money. She lost her job, she had to move, she left her job and all the rest of the stuff. But it drives the point home by saying to you that it's not just enough to be able to have the training and have the policy, but you have to make sure it's effective. One of the other pearls that I'd like to give to you is that you make sure that when you have this policy, that you get every employee to sign off on it. Let them initial the fact that they understand and have read the policy and put that in their human resource or personnel folder to make sure that they've got that covered.